And good evening. Welcome to Branco Broadcast. My name is Bob Branco. We're very pleased this evening to have with us a member of Bookshare, very popular reading service, Allison Hilliker. Allison, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to talk with you all today.
So I'll let you speak for a few minutes about what Bookshare does, and then we'll welcome questions.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Bookshare is an online library of accessible digital books for people with print disabilities. And basically what that means is Bookshare is a website, bookshare.org, and when you visit the website, you can sign up for a membership, and that allows you to access basically ebooks that you can download and you can read. The books are available in a variety of different formats that allow you to read in a number of different ways. The e-text format basically allows you to be able to listen to the books if you like audio. It's not a human-narrated audio. It's an electronic, like text-to-speech voice. If you're someone who is a Braille reader, our books are available in BRF Braille-ready format that you can read with a Braille display, or you can emboss them. Or if you like to read in large print, there's also text available for our books, and you can enlarge the font and change the contrast and be able to read in that format as well. So that's what's exciting about that, the e-book format that we're talking about when we say accessible digital books. Basically, that's what we mean. So there's over 400,000 books on the Bookshare website. And the books are available thanks to an exception in U.S. copyright law that allows us to put the books on the site. And when people sign up, you guys will provide a proof of disability to basically that's kind of what makes it legal for us to share this many books with this many people, is because all our members have to have the proof of disability on file. And from there, you can sign in and read the books on a variety of different devices, whether you like a computer or a tablet or a smartphone or a digital book player or a note taker. There's a variety of different ways to read the books, and your reading experience will kind of vary depending on the tool you use to access the Bookshare books. So there's no kind of one way to read them. And we have, as I said, over 400,000 books in a variety of different categories. We put up the New York Times bestsellers every month, which is kind of exciting to have really contemporary books. We have newspapers and periodicals through NFB Newsline. We have textbooks for students, both like K-12 or college textbooks. We have different categories of just popular recreational reading, like we have mysteries and science fiction and fantasy and romance, and we have nonfiction and biographies, and this is a huge variety of books, which I think is really exciting. So that's kind of the basic overview.
All right. Well, anybody with any questions, this is your time.
I can go into a little bit more before questions if you want.
It's up to you. You want to go further? That's okay.
I can go a little further. I just wanted to give the basic, synopsis before, but I wasn't sure, if you had specific questions before we open up to the group. But so basically, I'll describe a little bit more. So Bookshare is available. To sign up for Bookshare, you go to bookshare.org, and then there's a link that says sign up. There's two types of memberships. There's individual and organization. And probably most of the listeners from this group would do individual accounts. Organization is more for a school or a district or a university or a library or another organization that wants to, sign up people and download books for them. But for most purposes, if you just want to sign up and get an account for yourself to log in and read books, you want the individual account. You'll sign up, get some, give some basic information like your name and address and email address and such, and you create an account on the bookshare.org site. You use your email address, username, and then you create a password. And then from there, you can provide proof of disability. The short version of how to do that is we have a couple different ways. If you are a member of the National Library Service, NLS, which is the organization that does BARD, we can get your proof of disability from them. There's an online form on our site where you can ask us to get your proof of disability from them. We have the same situation with Learning Ally, which used to be Recordings for the Blind and Dyslexic. If you're a member of that organization, we can share proof of disability with them. If you're not a member of any of those, then we have a downloadable form on our site called a proof of disability form. You can download that from the site and print it and take it to have someone sign it. There's a whole link on our website that describes exactly who can sign that form. But usually it's somebody with a medical or a special education background who could sign it, like a doctor or somebody who may be someone who works at a disability office at a university or something to that extent. There's a whole, if you go to that qualifications link on our website, it explains more who can fill out those forms. So that's kind of the quick version of who can sign up. And that's basically somebody with a print disability, which is blindness or low vision, which is this group, but also for people who have learning disabilities that affect reading, like dyslexia, or physical impairment that prevents someone from holding a standard book and turning a page. Those are the three categories of what U.S. copyright law refers to as print disability. So that's just kind of saying so. And then, so most listeners, if you have some kind of blindness or low vision, then you could qualify that way. So that's kind of an idea of who. From there, once you have your proof of disability, then you can actually log in and start reading books. Our most basic reader is if you're on a computer. When you log into the website, you can search for books. There's a standard search where you can search by title or author or ISBN. There's also a browse link on our website where you can search categories, like I was talking about, your mystery, fantasy, romance, etc. Or we have some different special collection links or bestsellers or periodicals, different ways to kind of browse. We have a list of our most recent additions to the site. We have a list of most popular books. That kind of gives you an idea of how you can search and find what you want to read. And how you can read it is on a computer, when you find the book you want, there's a link that says Read Now, and that opens a book in what we call our web reader, which allows you to actually open the book in your web browser. If you need audio, like a built-in audio, you could use Google Chrome or Safari, but a lot of folks who are blind or low vision already use assistive technology like a screen reader or a screen magnifier. And if you're already using that and you want to read a book using that software, then you can use any web browser. You can use Internet Explorer or Firefox or whatever your favorite browser is. But the built-in text-to-speech audio is only available on Chrome or Safari. So it's kind of up to you and what your current kind of preference is for how you like to read books. So that's an easy way on the computer. There's a couple of other software programs that will allow you to read books offline, to download the book to your computer and read the book. We work with FS Reader. We work with the AMI Reader. We have a free program called Victor Reader Soft and one called Read Out Loud, both that come with the membership. Although those are older reading tools that people use less and less. But we do make them available to members still if you want to use those. So that's kind of how you'd read a book on a computer. We also have MP3 versions of our books if you just want to download and have the audio without any ability to move, look at any font or read character by character. You can download the MP3 version if you just need that. You can also download and transfer it to a portable device if you want to. What makes it really exciting and portable, though, is when we have different ways to read on smartphones and tablets. That's kind of what I think a lot of our users are doing now, is we have apps for iOS, which is for the iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch. There's a couple of different apps. We created one ourselves called Read to Go. That's Read, the number 2, Go. There's also about 3 others that are really popular. One's called Capti, which is a free app for iOS. It's C like Charlie, A, P like Paul, T like Tom, I. That's another app, and there's also one called Voice Dream Reader. That's like dreaming at night, DREAM reader. Capti is a free app. It will allow you can have the audio to listen to books. You can have the text for the books on your iDevice. What we've noticed about Capti is a lot of low vision folks don't like it because it doesn't let you change the font size. So that's something to keep in mind. But what's nice about that app is it's in the App Store and it's free and it will work with Bookshare books. If you want a few more features or some font changes, then VoiceStream or Read to Go are both very good for reading our books on, the iDevices. I've used both. I like them. Those both will work with Braille displays if you're someone who wants to read in Braille. If you want to mute your speech and just read our book in Braille, because we have text for all our books, you can use those apps with your display. It's actually also possible to open the BRF version of our books in the Bard mobile app on iOS. There's a couple of steps to that, but that can also be done if that's the way you want to read. If you are an Android person, if you have an Android smartphone or tablet, we have an app for that as well, a free app called Go Read. That's just the word Go Read. That one we just updated just a couple of months back fairly recently, and which is exciting because it kind of streamlined the interface in a way that makes it really user-friendly in some new ways, which is something we're very excited about. That will work with TalkBack if you're someone using a screen reader on your Android device. Go Read will work with that, or if you don't use it, then that's fine too. It's got its own built-in audio capability if you need that. There's also a version of VoiceStream Reader that works on Android if you want to be able to purchase a few additional voices or use some extra features. Like VoiceStream has some note-taking, but for most of our users on Android, they like our Go Read app, but it's kind of a personal preference thing. What's the things I really like about Bookshare is it's very versatile. There's a lot of different things to choose from depending on the type of reader or listener you are. So that's kind of the overview of our tablet and smartphone. If you like some of the more assistive technology products, if you like a Victor Reader Stream, you can download Bookshare books directly onto the stream using the Wi-Fi on the new second-generation stream. Or if you've got an older stream, you can download to a computer and transfer to the stream. A lot of our users like that option. It'll use the text-to-speech on the stream for the voice for the book. There's like Heather and Ryan, I think, are the text-to-speech options that come by default on the stream. That's kind of the basic overview of that option. And lastly, if you have a note taker like a Braille Sense or a Braille Note, our books will work on those devices as well. That way you can read in Braille or audio. Or there's different options for doing that. You can log into our site and download the books right into those units, or you can download to a computer and transfer. So that's really kind of exciting. And actually, there's one last way I almost forgot to mention for reading our books, which is if you have the Talking Book Player from the National Library Service, you can put our books onto that as well. There again, you get onto your computer and download the books to your computer and then transfer them to your NLS player using something like a thumb drive or one of the cartridges. You download our MP3 version or Daisy Audio because the NLS player doesn't have its own text-to-speech, but you can certainly do that. You can certainly read the books that way if you want to. So that was a very long list of possibilities, I know, but it's important because I think there's really a different kind of way of reading. You know, in the past, I know I'm blind myself, and I used to basically mail order a bunch of books on cassette and wait for them to come in the mail and put them in a player, and you could only play them one way, pretty much forward or backwards. And so this is so different, and I think in a very good way, and that's why I take the time to explain all the different reading tool options, just because it is very different, but it's really exciting because in the same way no two people are alike, no two readers are the same, no two people are in their ways of liking to read. So Bookshare tries really hard to find different different ways of reading for different types of readers using different devices, different reading tools, different voices, different media and such. So that's part of what I think is really exciting, and that's why I kind of took the long version of how to read our books. So that kind of is why I wanted to make sure I explained that in detail before we went into questions. And basically, then I'm happy to take questions if you guys have some.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'm very impressed with all the different accessibility options you have. I think that's wonderful. I just put my book up on there, and I was just wondering how long it takes a submitted book to get put on Bookshare.
Okay, that's a very good question. So want to know about submitted books. So, yeah, I'll back up a little bit. So where Bookshare gets its books is a lot of our books come directly from publishers. We make partnerships with publishers, and they will give us, ebook files. We'll convert those into accessible formats like our DAISY format, our BRF format, and MP3. But a percentage of our books come from users. They come from volunteers who actually scan books and submit them. I think that's what this gentleman was referring to. And that's because when Bookshare started in 2002, that was pretty much the only way we got our books was from volunteers. The CEO of Benetech, Jim Fruchterman, who started, Benetech is basically the main company that Bookshare is a part of. It's a big company based in Palo Alto, and Jim Fruchterman, our CEO, he has been doing different projects through Benetech. Benetech does a lot of human rights and environments in addition to the literacy project. But he had an idea when he was looking at music with his son. This was back in the early 2000s when Napster was around. And basically Napster was for sharing music. And Jim tells the story that he was listening to music with his son, and he was having so much fun, and he kind of asked him, how much am I paying for this? And his son said, oh, well, it's just file sharing. And Jim was kind of like, well, I'm not sure about that. But what he thought about, it got him thinking that, what if we could do this with books and we could do it legally? And that's kind of where the idea of Bookshare came from. And so that goes back to what we did with Bookshare was build this online community where people who scan books could share them with other readers with print disabilities, because the idea is if someone took all the time to scan one book and proofread it and make it, usable, then why should anybody have to do that work again? That was kind of Jim's thinking, which is a really great idea, I think. So that's where Bookshare started, and we still to this day take the volunteer submissions. You can sign up as a volunteer on our website and contribute your own books that you've scanned. So the question about how long it takes, it varies. Unfortunately, the answer to that is it depends. What happens is we have people who scan books will submit them, and then each book that's submitted goes through a proofreading process. We have volunteer proofreaders as well, and so it kind of depends on how long it takes someone to proofread the book. It can be as quick as a couple of days. It can be as long as a couple of months, unfortunately, and that really depends on what our volunteers are able to do.
So what are the proofreading for, like errors, or is it typos?
Yeah, so like scanning errors that we call scanos. Yeah,
okay.
Basically because sometimes, like the word, like the word "the" sometimes scans as "die" for some reason. With the OCR technology that converts the scan into text that can be read, a lot of times some of them will actually be like actual errors, but some of them you have to actually read the book to know that it was a mistake. Yeah. Because the word "die" is correct. Spell check wouldn't pick that up, but it's not the right word if it's supposed to be the house. It can't be die house.
So it can be a lot of work.
It can be a lot of work. That's actually what I used to do before I worked for Benetech. I was a volunteer for Bookshare when I was in college. I did a lot of volunteer proofreading. So certainly if that's something someone's interested in, you can check out that volunteer link on our site. I think it's a really, kind of nice way to get involved. What's also nice about the volunteer program is you can volunteer by scanning books or proofreading books to earn credits for a Bookshare membership. The Bookshare subscriptions are free. They're free to U.S. students, and that's a pretty broad interpretation. That's K-12 students, college students, folks in like adult education programs. Hadley students get the free subscriptions. Also, students at like guide dog schools and such. But if you're not a student in any of those flavors or categories of students, rather, then our Bookshare memberships are $50 a year and a one-time $25 setup. So the first year it's $75, and then it's $50 a year to renew. And that gives you basically kind of mostly unlimited access to our collection. We have a 100 book a month download limit, but if you actually find that you really need to read more than 100 books a month, you can contact us through our website or send us an email or give us a call, and we can increase the download limit on an as needed basis. Excuse me. So basically, once you pay that. You know what? You'd be surprised. We do. Okay, I would say most people don't go through 100 books a month, but we certainly get. I would say every so often, maybe a couple of times a month, I get someone calling or emailing saying, "Can you increase my download limit? I was busy doing such and such." So, especially a lot of times if people are reading a lot of series. Yes, absolutely. But if you get a couple of series you like, it can start adding up. But I agree, it's quite a lot of books. But so that's the overview. But what's nice about that is you don't pay per book. You just pay for the subscription, and then you can kind of download to your heart's content, which is nice. So you can earn credits towards your subscriptions with the volunteer program, which I think is kind of nice. I used to do that in college because when I was in college about 10 years ago, we didn't have the free memberships for students yet. So I was, broke college student. I volunteered my way through subscriptions. But thanks to an award from the U.S. Department of Ed's Office of Special Education Programs, we got an award that allows us to make the memberships free to students in the U.S. International students, unfortunately, still have a cost. Members can join Bookshare from other countries. There's a few differences in terms of which books are available from country to country because the U.S. copyright exemption only applies in the U.S. for international members outside of the U.S.
Foreign language books?
We do have foreign language books. Yes, absolutely. We do. We have a lot of different languages. In fact, if you go to the advanced search page on our website, it allows you to browse the different foreign language collections.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the more interesting things is we have a really large collection of books in Arabic, which, in fact, I've heard it said that we actually have the largest copy of accessible books in Arabic anywhere, which is kind of remarkable. We also have books in some Indian languages, like Tamil. I admit I'm not entirely sure how to say that, but in any case, we do have a lot of less common languages that we don't often find accessible books in. So, in addition to things like Spanish and German and French and the standard languages you kind of find more often. So that's something that we're pretty proud of. So yes,
you should be.
Books are the availability. Thank you. The availability of books internationally is a little different. What happens is when you log into your account, the website looks at your location and it lets you view the ones that are available in your region. And that's because the books we're allowed to make available internationally are ones that publishers have allowed us to share internationally because the copyright laws are different then. But a lot of the publishers do give us worldwide rights to their books. So we have an ever-growing collection no matter where you are, which is good. So that's that. Other questions?
Yes, I have some. As for you in Jersey, you certainly covered a lot of material, and I have a slight hearing problem. I was wondering, did you say that it's possible to read these books with just a simple desktop? I mean, a simple desktop
absolutely.
computer?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you did in the early stage of your speech. And the $75 for the initial membership cost, what did you say the annual cost is following that?
$50 a year. So $75 to sign up and $50 each year after that to renew.
Okay, I think you've
And I do apologize if I
thought I had a third question, but I lost it for a minute. If you're still on, I get it back. I'll retry. Thanks.
That's okay. I'm happy to chat with you guys a little longer, and if it comes back to you, feel free to let me know. So absolutely, you can read on a regular desktop computer. There's a couple different ways to do that. Probably the easiest is to use what we call our web reader, which is what allows you to read online in your web browser. So.
Okay, very good.
Other questions?
I do have a Library of Congress. I do have a Library of Congress, but you said you could download from your computer to that. But I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said correctly. Thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I have a couple questions.
Joni.
Well, at least one. Allison, I just love Bookshare. My name is Joan Leonard. I'm from New Jersey, and I just
I've
absolutely
talked to you somewhere, I believe, but I can't remember where.
we have spoken. Thank you for remembering.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering about book titles. You go to read a Bookshare book, and you have it on a thumb drive or a cartridge. And when it comes to the Bookshare books, you have to read through the notice to find the book title. And I'm just wondering if they're doing anything about making titles more accessible.
Okay, so are you talking about getting...
when I download when you download a book and you transfer it to a thumb drive, and you're going through the books on the drive, it does not give you the title at first. You have to go back to the beginning of the book, then read the first part of the notice till it says copyright notice. And then it gives you
Right. So are you talking about on the NLS player you're having?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So part of why that is, so the answer is yes, we've been looking into some ways to fix that, but part of why that's such an issue on the NLS player in a way that it's not on other devices is that the NLS player does not have its own built-in text-to-speech.
Right.
It can only play what's in the file itself. So whereas something like the Victor Reader Stream, it has text-to-speech to read you the title of the file. The NLS player can't do that, so you actually have to open the book and listen to it. And you're right, the very beginning of the book, the first thing on there is part of our copyright notice. It's not the title. And we have gotten some feedback about that our front matter with all that copyright notice and such is very lengthy and wordy and hard to get to the meat of what you're trying to read. So I think we are looking into it, but I don't know that we have any concrete plans in mind for how to fix that. But we have definitely gotten that feedback. So we're looking at, how to do what we need to do in terms of the copyright notices that the U.S. copyright laws requires to have, but also something that's user-friendly and people can get the info they need a little more easily than they are. And we've definitely been talking about that internally, trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. And I don't know that we have any solution yet, but it's definitely come up. We get that feedback sometimes. So, also, it's the hard. You're welcome. It's the hardest, I think, on the NLS player because it can't read the file names.
Well, I don't like the Heather voice on the stream, and I love the Kendra voice. That's why I choose to have my books in Daisy Audio with Kendra. I feel like Kendra and I are good friends.
That's terrific. Yeah, and that goes back to what I said. Everybody's got their own personal preference about the way they like to read, and we should be able to have that. I mean, just because we're blind doesn't mean we should be able to have our preferences about reading as well. So I understand, Kendra, that Joan was referring to is one of our voices. Our MP3 books use an Avona voice. Avona is a company that makes text-to-speech voices, and the name of that particular voice is Kendra. And that's when you download the MP3 or Daisy Audio version of our books, that's what you'll get is that Kendra voice.
Good voice, though.
She said she
It sounds very well on the NLS player, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
This is
another thing is, I'm sorry. With the reading of certain words, as we all know that, I mean, it can be pretty funny when somebody says, come on, and Kendra says, come Monday, out of the blue.
Yes.
And if they live on Hill Drive, they might say Hill Doctor.
Yep.
And
I get that too with Jaws.
Jaws, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
like 7 o'clock EST, meaning Eastern Standard Time, it'll say 7 o'clock estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I noticed when I'm on my iPhone, VoiceOver will tell me that a news article was posted 3 meters ago. So I understand.
Oh, I know.
Those text-to-speech quirks are just about anywhere you're using text-to-speech audio, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sometimes it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peter
Any other
Donahue.
questions?
Peter Donahue.
Go ahead, Pete.
Okay, Allison, speaking of audio books, I read a lot of audio books here and a lot of inspirational material. And I know I contacted you about this situation a year ago, and that is some books, like very large textbooks and Bibles and stuff like that, I've had some situations where I've tried to generate audio books of these titles, and the audio book generator crashed because of the size of the file that's been created. And I know for a fact that I contacted you about this situation, and that suggested strongly that something be done to fix that. Can you kind of update us on what's being done to remedy that situation?
Sure, I can. I definitely do remember those cases. It is a really, it's a pretty puzzling thing. Basically, the short answer is our engineers are going round and round to figure out how to fix it. Because what happens is some of the larger books, particularly like Bibles and stuff, they're big files. They don't convert easily into our audio format.
We have some interference on the line. Whoever that is, please mute.
So the answer is we are working on updates to what we call our DAISY pipeline, which is basically our conversion of the book that we get initially into DAISY or into the MP3 and audio formats. Basically, the whole process that converts them is what the engineers have been looking at, trying to find out how we can make these big books kind of translate, because they tend to get stuck in that conversion process.
I do have a possible solution. Why not just generate these files offline and then just upload them to the server? So instead of having to generate someone like myself having to generate these books on the fly, they would already be stored as as pre-generated zip files or something that you would just download and unpack, like you would with a regular audio file. And then what you could do is you could preformat them in such a way so that if somebody had to burn them to more than one CD, they would be ready that way. So that might be a possible solution.
Right. That is an interesting idea. So I'm not an engineer, so I can't say for sure. But why I believe that wouldn't work is because of the space required to store that many audio files. Because we have over 400,000 books on our site. That's a lot of space and a lot of audio files. And I think the space needed for that is not easily done, although, as I said, I'm not an engineer, so maybe there's a better solution to that than I can come up with off the top of my head. But I do know that we're working on it because it is something that we get that feedback often from our users, that we need to be able to get even these really large books to be able to convert into the DAISY audio and MP3 format. So I know we're working on it. I don't have a timeline as to when that's going to be fixed. One of the possibilities I know that's been considered is, could we break up books into multiple volumes?
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, we don't have an infrastructure for that just yet. We would have to make a bit of changes, but that's definitely something that we've been talking about, because we do want to, get this fixed for you guys.
That's still muted.
Go right ahead. Whoever said they were still muted, they're not muted, so you can ask your question. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. This is Karen from Leominster. I know you have a large category of books. Do you have a lot of classic cookbooks and books on fragrance and aromatherapy?
Okay, so I do know we do have a lot of classics.
Hello?
Okay. I'm here. I'm not sure. It was just updating us on the number of attendees, I think the call was. But I'm here. So answer to your question, yes, we have a lot of classics. We also have cookbooks. If you go to the browse link,
lots of them,
right, and you go to the browse link, there's a link after that called subject categories, and that's where you can view all our different categories. We have one just food and wine, and that's got cookbooks. We also, the last one, aromatherapy, I don't know. We don't have a specific category for that. But
it's probably under health or something, maybe.
We do have a category called health, mind, and body.
It might be under that.
I'm going to do a real quick search for aromatherapy just because I'm curious. So bear with me one.
And fragrance and all,
Allison, Mary Donahue. My question is related to the Braille. The big thing now since January, Unified English Braille came into effect, and Bard is gradually getting UEB books in. Will the same thing happen with Bookshare BRF books? Will that gradually be going over to UEB?
Yes, that's a great question. So the answer is Bookshare already has UEB available for our BRF books. We just launched that at the beginning of this year in January. So what you can do is when you log into your account on the Bookshare website, you can go to your My Account page and then go to Edit Preferences. And there's actually a section for BRF preferences, and that's where you can set.
Right now, that is set. That is set for. That is my primary preference, BRF.
Okay. So under the BRF preferences, though, within that, there's actually now an option that says UEB, yes or no. And if you want the UEB, you set that to yes. And if you don't, you want the old what is it, English Braille American Edition format.
EBA. Right. EBA.
So that
if you want that, you just turn UEB to no. You'd set it as no on your preferences. So
that's great.
When you set that preference, that means every BRF file you download will be created according to those preferences. So, and we felt like that was very important because some people really want UEB, and just about as many people really don't want UEB. So we wanted to make sure that people had.
Oh, I want to get as much. I want to get as much in it as possible. As I've got to retake a test.
Oh goodness! Well, yeah, absolutely. You can do that with our BRF books, and just check out those Braille preferences under your My Account section of your account, and then you'll be able to read as much UEB as you need to. Also, for people who like read the books on using something like an iOS device with a Braille display. A lot of those devices allow you to view even the DAISY books in UEB Braille if you want to, but if you're using the BRF, you can set the up in your account preferences. So, and you can also set your BRF preferences for contracted or uncontracted Braille. So,
right.
If you were to learning Braille, if they want grade 1 Braille, they can set that up as well. So we like to make a lot of different Braille reading options. Thank you. Any other questions? By the way, I'm not finding any aromatherapy books on my quick search, but I'm also trying to browse.
Oh, that's right.
So I might have missed them, but you can certainly on our website. There's the search box where you can. Pretty much.
Now, do they have authors Do they have an author thing where you can look at authors and like they do in Wikipedia and books available?
Yes. Let me see right now. Let me give you an example. 1 second. I'm on the site right now. What I recommend if you're new to the Bookshare site, you don't have to be a member to look at the site first of all. So you can go to bookshare.org. There's a search box on the page where you can type on your title, your author, your keywords and such. There's also an advanced search link. But one of the most interesting links to look at is this one that just says browse. I'm going there now. And
there all the
that,
time.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Authors, titles.
It's got things like special collections, which is where we have some categories, a list of books that you can browse. There's the New York Times bestsellers, different award winners like National Book Award, things like that. Then there's a list that actually just says author.
Don't forget the Wounded Warriors collection for veterans.
We do. Yes, we do have that for veterans. We have a lot of different special collections. It's kind of a fun thing. Sometimes when I have just, some free time on the web, I like to just look at our special collections and see the different stuff. Because there's a lot of really good suggested reading there. But yes,
one of the things I want to say is that I'm on a lot of different lists where people suggest different books to read. And they'll say, I got this book from Audible, and I say to myself, let's see if Bookshare has it. And most of the time, you do. And I use the New York Times bestseller list, and I see what's on there, and I go to Bookshare, and I hope Bookshare has this, and you do. And for a person that grew up waiting for books that never came, or when they did come, it took a year or 2 or 3 to get them. This is just wonderful. I mean, I'm a Bard user too because I'm a voracious reader, but I just love Bookshare. I love that I can listen to something on NPR, they talk about a book, I run to my computer, put in the book, the title, the author, and there it is. And
we've had that happen too, guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. And honestly, that's one of the things I love most about Bookshare myself. I mean, part of the reason why I work for Bookshare is that I really genuinely enjoy Bookshare. I mean, I started as a member. I joined Bookshare in 2003. And it was, pretty new idea then. Nobody was really using ebooks. I mean, some people were, but they weren't nearly as popular anywhere. And as they are now, people with disabilities were kind of cutting edge then. We were using ebooks in some ways before a lot of people were. And I was pretty much amazed by that too. What you were describing is we used to have to wait so long for books, and sometimes they came and sometimes they didn't. Or if you wanted a new book, you could be waiting for months and months and months. And so that's one of the things I like about Bookshare myself, and that's why I joined as a member and then later as a volunteer, and then I've been working for Bookshare since 2007. And it's because it really is life-changing for those of us who can't necessarily just walk in and pick up a book off of a shelf.
And I just want to say that Steve, who was very modest when he said about submitting his book, he's an author, and that's what he wanted to know is when could he find out more about when his book would be?
Well, I know it's going.
Gosh, I think I misunderstood the question.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Well, because he didn't really state
as a volunteer through the volunteer link, and I'm getting the updates like when they send it on to different people as it's being proofread, I guess. So I don't really know like when the end is. I'm assuming it's pretty soon because it was already the scan file was made from the Word file because I had it edited and all that already, so I don't think there would be too many issues.
Okay. Yeah,
Peter
it's
Donahue?
still going through the volunteer process. Hold on one second, Peter. So it does sound like it's going through the regular volunteer system. Normally for authors too, if you there's actually an author link on our website, although I can't remember off the top of my hand the direct link to it. For that information. But you certainly but since if you scanned it and sent it through the volunteer process, then it will still go through proofreading. And I can't have an exact estimate because there's a lot of different factors.
How many people proofread it? Because it's gone through like 3 or 4 different people.
You know what? Actually, only one person should be proofreading it. I can look into it if you want. Go ahead. Actually, the best thing to do probably is to send an email to volunteer@bookshare.org and
okay. Thanks.
That's probably going to be your best option because without actually looking up by title, I don't have a good answer right now.
All right, thanks a lot.
I work doing. You're welcome. I do tech support, so I mostly am, teaching people how to find their books and download their books and read their books. So I don't do a lot with the volunteer end, but although I used to when I was a volunteer myself. But I think if you write to that email address, you can get a more specific update than I'm able to give here.
All right.
So, all right, Peter, you were trying to get.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is kind of a follow-on to what Joni and Steve have been saying. About a year ago, I submitted a number of titles, for inclusion in the collection, and so far only one of them was added. 4 Blood Moons by John Hagee, and I did tell them on the special information section, that these are recommended books that our business team uses, and and it was just a gentle way to say, could you please get this out as soon as possible. One that we've been waiting for is highly recommended, and the only place we were able to find it was on iBooks. Is Imagine Big by Terry Savelle Foy, and we've been waiting for that book for over a year. And another series that I think I may have submitted these, but if not, I can double check. Are 5 books that Charles Paul Kahn wrote in the late 70s on the history of the Amway Corporation, and especially the first one, The Possible Dream, because it includes a chapter of a gentleman and his wife from Washington State who became very successful distributors back in 1979. Today, they're called independent business owners. But this gentleman accomplished this long before any of this technology ever existed. And you would think, because of the example that they set back then, that there would be thousands of blind people out there succeeding, in these types of businesses. And one way that Bookshare can help turn that around is to try to get more information out about these companies and to try to find a way to turn requests like this around faster.
Right. So, I would say that the best way, if you want to check on something, because it does sound like maybe something got lost in the shuffle there, which is not good. We definitely don't want to have books fall by the wayside. So there again, I would recommend writing to that volunteer at bookshare.org email address to check up on those, because it's possible that something, something didn't, fall into place the way it needed to get those books.
Right, and then we can check it and make sure that all those those titles, especially those the Possible Dream and the other ones that he wrote after that, are in the pipeline. Because it would really be nice to get these up there, because whenever folks whenever folks tell people, hey, check out these type of businesses for yourself, we can say, hey, there's a real great book about about a blind guy who was very successful in the Amway business called The Possible Dream. It's available through bookshare.org. If you're a Bookshare member, that's where you can get it. And in fact, it's the last chapter, Seattle, Washington.
Right. And we definitely do want to have that book. We want to have as many books as possibly can, especially things that would be interest to a variety of people. So I'm not sure, and I definitely would recommend writing to that volunteer email address, because But
I will say this: you do have a very extensive selection of inspirational titles. We have downloaded every single John Maxwell book that you've got up there.
Just about.
Yes, lots of them, and plus. We also get an audio series he does called Maximize Your Leadership. And you've got books by people like Joel Osteen. And I do remember sending a couple titles in by Joe McGee. And we have not seen those in the collection yet.
Joel Osteen?
Joel Osteen, yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not in, because he's on Bard.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. There are a number of books by, actually, Bookshare has quite a few books by Joel Osteen and his dad, John, and Dodie Osteen. And Victoria has written a couple books.
I'll be sending one in. Diana Hagee, our pastor's wife, just wrote a book. She's been signing it at church after church.
Yeah, there's a few more John Hagee books that we want to see added. We can, and again, those might have been on our to add list. But you did get 4 Blood Moons up, and we appreciate that. You've also got a very extensive. Go ahead.
So you're welcome, and thank you for sharing it with us. We definitely want to.
Sure. You've also got a very extensive collection of books on financial literacy. That's something that's very important today. And you've got just about all the books that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, and Dave Ramsey. And another reason why we're excited to see these books up there is Mary and I have had the pleasure of meeting some of these people in person. And Robert Kiyosaki was one of them. And John Hagee is our pastor.
Wow.
We go to his church.
That's great. I'm glad that you're finding a lot of the books that you need. By the way, also to the person who asked about aromatherapy, I did find a couple. I found chromatography of aromatherapy compounds and fragrances. I found one called Vital Oils. It looked kind of interesting. So there's a couple. If you
okay.
There were a couple that looked interesting. I didn't find it the first time because I think I'm not particularly good at walking and chewing gum or book searching while talking, as it turns out. But I did find some just now. So. All right. Other questions?
We have time for a couple more. Anybody? About time for 2 more.
Oh, the foreign language. So those use MP3s, like you said you had foreign language books?
So we do have, we can, basically, our foreign language books can be read in the MP3 format. They may not sound that great because we don't have.
So you're not using like a specific text-to-speech?
We do have a text-to-speech for Spanish. We do have a Spanish text-to-speech for those.
How about French?
No.
Do you know?
It's just Spanish and the English ones. No, we don't have, for the MP3s, we don't have text-to-speech.
Right.
What I'd recommend for the foreign languages is trying one of our formats that's not the MP3 format, try maybe our DAISY format and then use
and
the
then I could
tools
use JAWS in that text.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because they have different languages for theirs. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that would be your best bet.
All right.
Good question, though.
Anybody else? Allison, why don't you give out some information that lets people know how to join Bookshare?
So, that's a good point. So you go to bookshare.org, and to join, there's a link that just says sign up, and then you'll select the option that says individual, and just, fill out the online form and follow the prompts, and that's how you can get signed up and start reading books. We are on social media. We're Bookshare on Facebook and at Bookshare on Twitter. We're got some YouTube clips and such if you like that route. So you can visit us there. We also have a blog with updates, or you can sign up for our newsletter. That way,
does the newsletter say what books are coming out and stuff, or?
No, we don't have that updated at Bookshare. Although sometimes
that would be helpful.
Yeah, it would be. The best way to know about the new books is there's a link on our page called Recent Books.
Okay.
If you go to the browse link, actually it's called New Books. I'm sorry,
New Books.
New Books.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, you go to the browse link, you go to New Books. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the best way. And that gets updated so frequently, you can pretty much see new books every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Some days it feels like from hour to hour we have new books. Yeah, there's actually a counter on our homepage that says how many books there are on the site, which I think is kind of fun watching that number go up.
Yeah.
So, you can stay in touch with us that way. If you have questions, you can always email support@bookshare.org. That I answer that email along with my two colleagues, Angela and Lisa. If you call Bookshare and contact us for support, it's going to be one of the three of us most likely answering your questions. So we're always, happy to help with if you guys get stuck, if anyone does, about how to download the books or find the books or read them, or if you can't remember all the details of which devices our books work with, certainly get in touch with us that way. Yeah, absolutely. So I really invite you guys to check it out. Remember, you don't have to be a member to browse the sites and look at the books that are available. You can go to bookshare.org and just see what we have, even if you're not a member, and at least see what there is, even if you can't read it yet. So I really invite you guys to do that if you're not. It sounds like a lot of you are already members, though, which I think is fabulous. So.
Well, Allison, since I'm old and not as good with computers as I wish that I was, I find that it's the best thing for me to do is call you guys, and I always get help. Everybody is so nice to me and so helpful, and that really works for me.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Yes, you can absolutely call us. It's
what is the number?
800-833-2753. That's it. If you forget the number, you can go to the contact us link on our website, and it's in there. 800-833-2753. If you prefer to, talk to a live human, we're available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So that's how you can talk to us live. And
Peter Donahue.
Leave voicemails too. Yep, sure.
Just one kind of a comment and a suggestion here. When Lauren came on, your assistant, I told her that you guys made Mary and I homesick this past weekend with all those Visions of America books that y'all put up last week and over the weekend. Those are wonderful, and I was really excited to find one on the place of my birth, Rockland, Massachusetts. There was one thing that I found kind of distracting. Is that the photographs that were in there, the name of the image files being created, it was being read, but there was no alt text for it, or you'd be reading along in text, and all of a sudden you come across this garbage image 123456789.jpg, and that's rather distracting. And I wonder if maybe you guys could figure out some way to hush that kind of content, so that way a screen reader won't read all that stuff, and readers won't get distracted. But otherwise, that is a wonderful series, and keep pushing them up there.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you're enjoying them. So, yes, we have a lot. That happens particularly with our books from publishers. When we when we bring in volunteer scans, or if we scan books in-house ourselves, that's unlikely to happen. But sometimes we get books from publishers. They do give us images, and depending on what file type you're using and what technology you're using to read, those do not read as well as they could.
Yeah, how about the iOS? Because they have the alt text. Sometimes they work good, and sometimes they don't. Like on my iPod Touch, I'm not reading. I don't know about the Bookshare books, but like the images are being described more than they used to be sometimes.
Yeah, some of our books have alt text. Many do not. We're working on getting more. A lot of times, if the publishers provide the alt text, we'll we include them. But more often than not, the books we get from publishers just don't have it at all, which is really frustrating. Yeah. We're working on a few projects, with publishers to try to encourage them to include more alt text and making it easier for them to be able to make those available.
So that whatever you read is meaningful and not distracting,
Oh, I hate those.
Right, exactly. So a couple of interesting things is we have Benetech, which remember, as I mentioned, is the main company that Bookshare is part of. Benetech has another project called the Diagram Center, and part of the Diagram Center is a collection of different projects using to research and evaluate different ways to make images accessible.
Now, what's the name of the company? Benetech?
Benetech. It's Benetech. So, like, if you took the word benefit and technology and switched it together, it's Benetech.
All right.
Yep. That's the overall nonprofit that Bookshare is part of. Basically, the motto of Benetech is technology serving humanity, which basically means we try to find, technology solutions to meet kind of unmet needs of society. So that's. And the main things that Benetech does is human rights and global literacy and some environment projects. Yeah, it is. It's a really exciting place to work. I really enjoy it because I love feeling that, like, basically all my coworkers for the most part come to work every day wanting to make a difference, which I really love. I love, being part of a company where I feel that. So that's, I think, a really good thing. So, yeah, as part of So one of Benetech's projects is this Diagram Center. You can go to diagramcenter.org to learn more about the ways we're trying to, make more images accessible. Some of our books, for example, we put up 100 most popular picture books for kids. We put them up in the past year or so, and we actually had a big project where we got a lot of volunteers to get together to describe images in these top 100 picture books for kids so that little kids who can't see pictures can still enjoy the illustrations, because a lot of the picture books are the stories kind of rely on being able to see the images. So we've done that. The problem is it's a little time intensive, and we don't have a quick way to necessarily do that, but we do it where we can. So you can do a search on our advanced search page. There's an option, there's a checkbox you can check for image descriptions. And then you can search the books that have them available. So we're definitely working on, we have some, and we're definitely working on ways to bring more in. We also have a project called Born Accessible, where we're working with publishers, trying to teach publishers how to make their books accessible when, initially as they publish them too. That's something that Benetech's definitely interested in. Not just trying to make books accessible through our site, but also teaching people how to make things accessible.
Well, our time is up, Allison, and it's a fast hour. We really appreciate you being with us to discuss Bookshare, and hopefully you're going to be recruiting many, many new members this evening, and that would obviously be a wonderful thing. Thank you, Allison Hilliker, for appearing on Branco Broadcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed talking with all of you. Have a great night.
Thank you.